Hi and welcome to your very first guitar lesson. In this video I'll be covering the kinds of things I do with beginner students that come to me for their very first trial lesson. I'll be covering the absolute basics, the structure of the guitar and its individual parts, the names of the strings and how to tune them. You'll learn some easy preliminary finger exercises, and finally you'll be learning your first chord. The rounded wooden part is called the body of the guitar. This is where the sound hole is. Normally it should be open. I've taped it shut for acoustic reasons. This is the bridge, of which the 6 strings are attached. The long part is the neck of the guitar with its fretboard and many frets. Electric guitars usually have 22 to 24 frets, which are actually playable. The acoustic guitars have less. This is the nut. This is the head of the guitar, with its tuning keys, with which we tune our strings. There's not one correct way to hold your guitar. Whatever feels comfortable for you should be okay. As long as you consider these few things, the body of the guitar should be vertical to the ground, and there should be little to no space between the guitar's body and yours. The neck should never be tilted downwards, but up instead. Your strumming arm should be resting on the back rounded part there, above the sound hole or pickups if you're playing an electric guitar. Most guitars have 6 strings tuned to E, A, D, G, B, E. I said E twice. Low, deep, thickest string, that's an E. And the highest string, or thinnest, is also an E. They have the same pitch, but they're in different octaves. This E is 2 octaves higher than the low E. I'm going to call this the low E string, and that one the high E string. If you can, just learn all of these letters. E, A, D, G, B, E. But if you can't, there's a bunch of mnemonics you can use to memorize them. Like Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie, or what was the other one? Elephants and donkeys grow big ears. The point of these, the first letter of every word corresponds to the name of the string. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. But as I said, if you can't, just learn them. I mean, you're probably old enough. Practice the string names by playing each string and saying the name out loud. From low E to high E. Also try going in the other direction. E, B, G, D, A, E. Also try going in just completely random skips. E, G, D, E, B, A, and so forth. Now comes our first little exercise. Go ahead and play the A string 3 times. Now play the G string 2 times. Play the B string 3 times. You can play the note with your thumb or with a pick. Here's how you hold a pick. Picks come in varying degrees of softness and hardness. Flexible picks are good for chord strumming, and the hard, rigid picks are better for melody playing, solos, and so forth. I suggest you just buy a bunch of them in different degrees of hardness and just see what you like. But before you play anything on the guitar, you should first tune it. There are 3 ways to tune a guitar. The pitch of a string gets higher when you turn the turn key away from yourself, and vice versa. If you turn it towards the guitar, towards the body of the guitar, it gets lower. On most acoustic guitars, the tuning keys are arranged in the following manner. This one, top right, It tunes the low E string. This one, A string, D string. Below that, G string, B string, high E string. I'll try to keep the music theory to a minimum, but there's a few things you need to know to actually know what you're doing when you're tuning your guitar. All notes, including the open guitar strings, exist in an infinite cycle of 12 tones. There's the natural notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Then the cycle repeats, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, an octave higher, and it keeps going, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. If you go in the other direction, you have to say the letters backwards, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. These natural notes are equivalent to the white keys on a piano, but there are also 5 chromatic neighboring notes between some of these natural notes: C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, A flat or G sharp, A, B flat, B, C. So that's, all in all, that's 12. By the way, there's no need to remember all of this stuff. You can just come back to this video if you need to. When your string is too low, it'll become loose and make a rattling or buzzing sound. If it's tuned too high, it'll be really tense and eventually snap. When your string is too low, it'll be on this side of all of those 12 notes. So you have to tune higher to reach the correct note, E. One way is using an electronic tuner. The other is to use a pitch source like a piano or another guitar that's in tune. And the last way is to use a technique for relative tuning. I'll leave a link for an electronic tuner in the description or the comment box somewhere. Here's how the electronic tuner works. The lowest string should be an E. As you can see here, it's not an E. It says D sharp. The sharp is what that hashtag looking thing on the corner of the D means. That means we have to tune up till it says E. And then when we're in the green, or blue in this case, we have a perfect pitch. G is too low. Good. That says E when it should be a D. E is higher than D. Now it says D sharp, still too high. Till it says just D. Here's the second method of tuning your guitar, using reference pitches, meaning another instrument which is tuned correctly. Could be a piano or another guitar which is tuned. Here's what the open strings should sound like, starting with the low E. The third method to tune your guitar is called relative tuning. Use this method when you're lost in the woods, for example, without an electric tuner or any reference pitches. So I don't know what my lowest string is right now, but I'll tune the whole guitar using this note as a reference. When you use relative tuning, your guitar won't be in tune, but it'll sound good relative to itself. So use whatever pitch your low E string is at right now, go to the 5th fret, and then tune the A string to this note on the 5th fret of the E string. The downside of this method is that you have to have a good ear and you have to notice if a note is higher or lower. So I can hear da da that the A string is higher, so I have to tune it down. Till it sounds about right. Sounds good enough. Go to the 5th fret of the A string. Again, tune the D string to this note on the 5th fret of the A string. Tune it down again. Go to the 5th fret of the D string. Tune the G string to the same note. I can hear that the G string is a lot higher than this note, so I have to tune it down. You can use your voice to sing them, then perhaps it'll be easier to know if it's lower or higher. Now the G string is the exception to the rule. You have to go to the 4th fret of the G string and tune the B string to this note. Then on the B string, go to the 5th fret again. The guitar will sound good enough. If you're a right-handed person like me, then your left hand is your fretting hand, the hand that plays on these frets. Our fretting hand, the fingers of our fretting hand all get a number from 1 to 4. Index finger is 1, middle finger is 2, ring finger is 3, pinky is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One of these rectangles is called a fret. So this is fret 1, fret 2, fret 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. A lot of guitars have a bunch of dots on them, so it's easier to figure out which number the fret is. So this is the 3rd fret, 5th, 7, 9. And the 12th fret has 2 dots there. The most important frets to memorize in the beginning are the 5th fret. You should be able to find the 5th fret pretty quickly, and also the 12th fret maybe. But that's for a later, more advanced stage. In the beginning, we'll be mostly playing in this first position area. So what's a position? A position indicates where the first finger of our fretting hand is. So when our first finger is on the 1st fret, it's the 1st position. If it's on the 5th fret, that's called the 5th position. On the 3rd, it's the 3rd position, and so on. Okay, so now we're in tune. We know the names of the strings. We know how to find the number of the fret number, and we know what positions are. Take your finger 1 and put it on fret 5, close to the next higher fret, but not on this metal thingy. Your fingers should be vertical to these metal frets, although many players play like this, sort of slanted. I've heard this is the better way to do it, so let's just do it. Try to produce a nice, clear, ringing tone 5 times in a row on this fret 5 with your first finger. If it's muted, you're not pressing hard enough. If you can play a nice clean tone reliably, move on to the next finger, with finger 2 on fret 6. Play that one 5 times. And so on. Move on to the next finger when you're ready. Finger 3 on fret 7. Play that one 5 times. And the pinky is probably the hardest. And just let go of the guitar if the pain gets too much. Then try it in the other direction. Back to position 5. Finger 1 on fret 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now start with your pinky. Play that note 5 times. Next lowest note. Also, when you're playing these fingers, keep the other fingers that are not playing at that moment, keep them on the fret. It'll be easier to create enough pressure. So don't do this. Do this. Next finger. You should practice this every day on each of the 6 strings. The lower the string is, the more difficult it's going to get. And on the lower notes, you'll be hearing a lot more fret buzz. When your fret is buzzing, also apply a little more pressure. Also, the lower strings have a lot more fret buzz just by nature, especially on electric guitars. So now let's learn our first chord. Take finger 4, put it on fret 3 of the high E string. High E string, go to fret 3. 1, 2, 3. Now play all the strings from the D string downwards. That's your first G major chord. Try to keep a steady pulse. Many players, especially beginners, use the remaining fingers to stabilize their hand, which is okay. But the more professional way is to float above the strings with your wrist. Try to keep a fluid wrist motion and avoid excessive, rigid forearm movements. In order to play music, we not only need to know which notes to play, but also how long they're supposed to sound relative to each other. That's where the so-called note values come in. Note values are what rhythms are made of. These are the 4 most basic note values, starting with the longest one, the whole note. A whole note fills one measure or bar in the time signature 4/4. Count from 1 to 4 at a steady pace. Keep starting over at 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And every time you say 1, you play the chord. Play anything, doesn't matter really. Let's use the G major chord if you want. And you let this chord ring for all of the 4 numbers. Then you hit the chord again when you reach the next 1. Do that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we just played whole notes. Do that a bunch of times until it feels natural to you. Moving on to the half notes. Half notes are half as long as the whole note. So we're going to play the chord when we say 1 and when we say 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously also practice that until it works. Then we have quarter notes, which are the easiest. When playing whole notes, half notes and quarter notes, always use the downstroke. Downstroke is when the strumming hand goes toward the floor. That's a downstroke. Coming up is the upstroke. We won't need that just yet. Anyway, here's quarter notes, downstroke on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Always maintain a relaxed wrist. Avoid rigid forearm movements. Don't do that. The last note value for today is the 8th note. An 8th note is half as long as a quarter note. And this is where our upstrokes come in. But I don't expect you to be able to play this yet. When we play 8th notes, the second 8th notes gets the syllable and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Every time you say and, the and comes up for an upstroke. I'll just demonstrate it. You don't have to be able to do this in order to continue the course. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and